The launch of a new Fortnite season is finally here once again, but while everyone else is still exploring the island and collecting bounties in Season 5, here on my channel it's yet again time for one of my favorite seasonal traditions. It's time to recap Fortnite Chapter 2, Season 4. Following up the third season of Chapter 2 was certainly no small task. After what was in my opinion a very rocky first couple of outings, the third season for the first time laid out a potential path forward for Chapter 2, one that I could be content with and even excited about. For me though, the real elephant in the room throughout these 2.5 months was, are they going to be able to recreate this? Sure, a single great season is awesome, but there was still very much the potential for Epic to fall back into their bad habits and throw the game right back off course. Today, we're going to be discussing how they tackle the challenge in Fortnite Chapter 2, Season 4. Straight off the bat, the fourth season of Chapter 2 had one major thing that set it apart from all previous seasons. Season 4 was brought to you by Walt Disney. In a never-before-seen move, the entire season was themed around the Marvel Universe, marking a first for the franchise. Now, this wasn't the first time Epic had collaborated with Disney. The two companies have a long and historied buddy-buddy relationship. However, this was by far the furthest it had ever gone. I myself am not exactly known for being a big fan of these sponsorships, in particular the more recent ones. Back in Chapter 1, sponsored events were kept more or less out of the main game, relegated to the item shop, LTMs, and optional challenges. I quite enjoyed a lot of these crossovers, but unfortunately they took a turn in Chapter 2. Starting with the rather lackluster Star Wars promotion, and in my opinion culminating with the great Deadpool fiasco of Season 2, these sponsorships started feeling more and more like ads. Seriously, I've had pop-up ads that felt way less intrusive than some of the crap they pulled with Deadpool. How long until uBlock Origins receives Fortnite compatibility? With that said, you might assume that I was immediately appalled by the idea of an entirely sponsored season. However, I was shockingly receptive. I think part of the reason is that, even from the beginning, the story was handled relatively well. Instead of being shoehorned in inexplicably for the lulz, they actually took the time to develop a good reason and mechanism behind these characters being on the island, one that felt respectful of the Fortnite universe while still feeling like an actual collaboration instead of just an advertisement. My immediate impressions of Season 4 were really quite positive, as you can see in my initial reaction video on screen now. The map didn't change much at all, but that was okay. The constantly changing map of Season 3 meant I wasn't exactly burnt out on the current configuration, and as you'll soon see, it didn't stay that way for particularly long. As well as that, I was very happy with the meta set up on day 1. I definitely think that Chapter 1's system of a constant week-by-week vaulting and unvaulting, as well as introducing new weapons, was a large contributor to the game's initial staying power. However, I genuinely feel that there's a case to be made for Chapter 2's system of having a single large weapon rotation per season. It gives each season a bit of a stronger identity, and I feel like it's probably more effective at getting people to try out and stick to combos they ordinarily might never use. One of the more controversial aspects of Season 4 were its mythic items. These have been contentious since their introduction in Season 2, however, I never really took an issue with them and actually really loved the mythics in Season 3. Season 4 took a bit of a different approach, introducing various superpowers exclusive to the Mythic lineup. A lot of people seem to hate these or find them OP, but I enjoyed them quite a bit. They offered a cool alternative to some more traditional weapons, meaning that there was a ton more variety in my loadout throughout games. To me, they didn't feel any more or less deadly than any other decent weapon in a capable player's hands. Sometimes I might decide to just keep my sniper, while other times I might go without an SMG for a round. At the same time, these things being in the game seem to greatly balance out other aspects of play. Plan on camping in a box the whole fight? Watch out, you never know who has the Unibeam. And somebody is definitely carrying around Wolverine's claws, so if your entire plan is to just 90 them to death, you may want to look into learning to deal a good old-fashioned 200 to the head with a pump shotgun. Games felt fresh regardless of whether or not you picked up the mythics yourself. One of the things this season carried over that I wasn't a massive fan of was the Enlightened system for Battle Pass skins. Season 3 had this, but it felt extremely manageable and I had very little trouble getting to the required level with a little bit of grinding. Unfortunately though, Season 4 kind of bridged the gap between Season 2's awful XP system and Season 3's much better one. Honestly though, I still find it much less outrageous. It seems clear at this point that these styles aren't necessarily meant to be accessible to everyone who buys the Battle Pass, and while I personally feel like I put in more than enough work to deserve them and I don't really agree with the philosophy in the first place, I don't think the XP system was unreasonable, and the fact that the inner workings of the skins and their styles was so well choreographed by this season's much better UI means I'm not really too upset about the whole thing. One of the aspects of Season 1 and 2 of Chapter 2 that made them seem so unbearable to me was the constant extending of the seasons and the lack of subsequent new content to hold players over in the meantime. Season 3 addressed this simply by actually lasting for the 10 weeks standard of a Fortnite season. As such, I was immediately concerned when I logged in to play Season 4 for the first time and saw its end date listed as 14 weeks away. Fortunately though, Season 4 handled this well in two key ways. First of all, Season 4 actually kept the game fresh with new content throughout the season. There were new locations as well as mythical weapons added as the weeks ticked away, and Epic managed to pull off what I think was easily the best Fortnitemares yet with Midas's Revenge, which I could have easily made a whole video on by itself. Secondly, and arguably more importantly, Epic actually stuck to the time laid out at the beginning of the season. It wouldn't have mattered how much content they had crammed in if they had also announced a delay once every couple of weeks. The end of Season 4 fell within 18 hours of when it was initially claimed to end, and the season wasn't extended a single time. It looks like 14-week seasons might replace 10-week ones as the new norm for Battle Royale, and that wouldn't really bother me all too much at all, as long as Epic continues to stay reliable as a source of information and actually ends seasons at 14 weeks. The entirety of Season 4 ultimately led up to a final battle against Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds. As I hinted before, the entire build-up to this event was handled really well, leaving me genuinely invested in the outcome of the story in a way that I haven't really been in quite a while. The event did not disappoint, and if you would like to see my reaction, which I streamed live, the event will be in the iCard in the upper right corner. Chapter 2 Season 4 was ultimately a really solid season. It didn't blow me away like Season 3 did, and it definitely wasn't perfect. However, what it did show me is that the changes Epic seems to have made for the better aren't just one-offs, and maybe, just maybe, the current quality standard can be maintained on in perpetuity. I really hope these feelings will be cemented further than ever in the coming months, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see when I recap Fortnite Chapter 2, Season 5. And with that, we're finally done with Fortnite videos for a while. Hopefully you enjoyed them as much as I did, although I'm definitely ready for a bit of a break. If you did enjoy them, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already so you never miss a future upload. Comment down below letting me know what you thought of Season 4 or Season 5. I would really love to hear with you, and I love interacting with people in the comments. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord will all be linked down below. As well as that, I'll also link any of the music that may have been used in this video. With that being said, I'll see you all next week, and as always, thanks for watching.